Hi, it's me again with CorelDraw tips and tricks. Somebody sent me this plant stake and want to know how to design it. Really pretty easy. There's several ways you could do it. I'm not going to particularly care what side right now. We'll make it 4 inches. And my ratio is locked, so it's unlocked. So let's back up and lock it so it's 4 inches. Now, if you can see, this was engraved line. So we're going to go ahead and let's get a little closer. We're going to just draw these by hand. There's probably plenty of these out there, but these are a little bit different, so I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go and turn this hairline into a line, maybe not quite that thick. And then I'm going to go to Object, convert the outline to an object, and I'm going to left click, right click, so I have a 2-line hairline type deal. And then I'm just going to start, and there's plenty of, you could do object to path or blend, but this thing it's a little different. I mean, so we're going to make some of these leaves. The best way I've always found is just hold down your control button and make a perfect circle. Grab them, hit the plus key on your keyboard and just move that over. And you could do one of two things, but it's just as easy to go and fill it in with the Smart Fill tool. And then when you left click, right click, you have the shape of the leaf. Now these leaves are a little bit different because they're not solid. So we're going to go with that. We are going to make that hairline just a thinner line. That's too thick. And we're going to go ahead and go to object, and convert that to an outline. Matter of fact, I'm going to make the leaves black. Now, every one of these leaves have different lengths. So I want to make basically, and you could actually these are a little bit skinnier than mine. So you could actually take it right now and just squeeze it down a little bit. So I'm going to make a duplicate of that because I want some like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and take a rectangle, I just do a line. I'm just going to take a 2-point line. I'm going to go probably from the center outwardly. I'm going to go ahead and make that same thickness. Wow, that's too thick. That's about right. Go to object, convert it to an outline, left click, right click. And at this time, I'm not going to weld this. I'm going to just Smart Fill it. So I'm going to take the virtual segment delete key and I'm just going to delete these lines. And now if I use the Smart Fill tool, I will actually have a new object. But still we want to make it where it's not a color. So I'm going to left click, right click. And then maybe let's bring this over here and let's get rid of this item because it's the broken one. Let's get this and just they started out with a heart. And if that's the way he wants it, let's go to your common shapes or basic shapes and go up to heart and make a heart. Now this one is just kind of solid and it's actually not a true heart. It's more like a heart with leaves. So you could play around with that and, do a lot to it. If we take it and go ahead and go to object and convert it to a curve, then we can manipulate some nodes and make it look a little bit different. And you can make up your own for that. Now, so what we're going to do, I want this heart kind of like about right in there. And also I just realized there's some with just a bud on them. So I'm going to put it right there, kind of try to get it in the middle. Tell you what, this would be a good turn to set your nudge factor on 0.09, let's say, and see how far that is. See, that's too much. So because you can nudge a lot better, let's go 0.02. You can nudge a lot, if your hand and your mouse coordination aren't the perfect thing, you can kind of do that. Then let's just start putting some of these leaves. And I'm going to make a bunch of them, so I'm going to Control D and make a duplicate. And then I'm just going to Control D all the way over. And then I'm going to take my first one, and this is kind of just elementary. they're not necessarily at the same spot. And I didn't really have to make all those copies because I could just do this right here, Control D, and make a duplicate and mirror it. Excuse me, and actually rotate a little bit more. Put it in that, see, like it doesn't have to be in that same spot. We'll actually mirror or rotate a little bit more. It's not going to really matter if it's sticking over, I don't think right now. So we actually need to make this one with a ball. So we're going to just take a 2-point line. And if this doesn't interest you, just stop watching. We're going to make it that same thickness. Can't really tell now, it's zoomed out. Go to object, convert it to an outline, or outline to an object. And then let's put and you could at this time, there is a little bit of curve to it, so you could put a curve to it, but we're not really going to worry about it right now. I'm just going to put a little ball. And these are all engraved, so once we weld them together, it'll make a lot more sense. And then just take your virtual segment delete key. Whoop, got off a little bit there, and then take your Smart Fill tool. And what the Smart Fill tool does, it makes it all one piece. I always get rid of the stuff I've been using, so I won't use it again. That's probably a little bit long, but we could shorten it up. And well, that makes the ball a little bit different. But now we're going to get it over here closer. If I can grab it. And there's 2 balls and then a single leaf. And I don't have to make it exactly like that. And you don't either. It's you know, that's just kind of like personal preference. And just bring in these balls. And like I said, you don't have to go, now I'm going to Control D and then mirror it. And you probably don't want that one the same angle. And you don't want it in the exact same spot. So you can put it down here. And then there's a leaf that's just kind of like touching instead of, and whenever I do stuff like this, I'm wondering, make sure my weld tool is going to work. And at this time, we could hit the plus key, mirror that leaf, put it on this side. Let's rotate a little bit, try to get more of the edge to it. Let's put one of these leaves down here. And I really didn't have to make the copy because since I'm not going to weld this, I could just keep making copies of these. So I can just hit the plus key and mirror it, put it on the other side. You probably don't want them touching like that. And then I'm going to fit a few more balls. I might not do as many as they have because I just want him to get the idea and see really those two are, don't want to be touching. Because, you know, you often question, was the weld tool going to work? Well, you don't really know till you try it. I'm going to go ahead and put that one down there, hit the plus key. I just like mirroring it. Probably want to put it up at an angle a little bit more. And if you move your rotation here, it'll rotate from there. I'm going to put in just a couple more leaves. And then just keep our fingers crossed that if the weld process doesn't work, it's not going to kill you. You can do a lot of virtual segment delete keying and just delete some lines. I'm thinking it's going to work since it's an object. And let's say that's good. Now let's keep our fingers crossed and take all this and weld it. And it worked, except for we're going to have to cut out the parts that are hanging over, which isn't a problem. So what we're going to do, we're just going to cut out the pieces that are hanging over the object. The leaves themselves won't matter, but the stems that are too long are just going to not really work. And that's probably why you wouldn't want them touching. But I think other than that, it's going to be pretty cool. Now we can grab it all and weld it. And what we want is exactly what we got. We got the heart. We could have rotated the heart a little bit better. Now it did not work completely. Let's back up here one more time. Some of the lines we're going to need to get rid of the center lines anyway, and they did not weld, because the welding process is going to work on stuff like this, but it might not work on this other because we're touching it. I'm going to have to zoom in. So like if the weld did not work, you could just cut through there and you'd be done. You know, you wouldn't have to do this. But let's see if it works. Whoop, still got a little bitty piece there. All right, keep your fingers crossed again. Grab it all and weld it. And it worked. No, it didn't. So 0 for 2. So really easy. Just take your virtual segment delete key, and this one you could actually have a little bit stronger, like a joint there. So this doesn't take that long, and there's, you know, I could have probably grouped them together and trimmed them, or, you know, very different thing. The leaves themselves worked, just not the one on my petals. But this doesn't, you know, unless you were having to do 100 of these, there's really no reason to try to figure out why it didn't work, because as soon as we cut this, we're ready. And probably the main question is how to get this border around there. So what we're going to do now is take the Smart Fill tool and fill that in. And that is going to be our actual ring. Of course, the inside is going to be, the inside is going to have a border around it. Bad. Back up and move that over there. And I'm trying to get rid of this. So now we have this, and I'm actually going to left click, right click in red, and that is our outline. But this is going to be solid. And so we don't want it to cut out. So we're going to figure that out. But what I want to do is get this border around the outside. So I'm going to go to Object and break the curve apart, and I come up with my boundary tool, and I created a boundary. Now I'm going to take my Shift key and hold it down and grow the boundary. Well, that's not going to work. So the other choice, and this will work for sure, is take a rectangle, take your Smart Fill tool, fill it in. I'm going to have to set my nudge factor to, tell you what, I'm going to start all over. I need my nudge factor to at least be that, so I'm going to make it like 6 inches. I'm going to take the Smart Fill tool, fill that out. I'm going to take now my Smart Fill and fill that in. And now I have a solid shape of that item. And now I can left click, right click. I'm going to do it in black this time. And from here, we can contour it, because that's all we need to contour. So I'm going to grab it. I'm going to go to Effects and Contour. I'm going to just contour to the outside with rounded corners. Let's say 0.25. That's a little bit too much. I'm going to go 0.18, just making stuff up. That's probably still too much. Let's go, let's just go 0.1. That'll work. Because see, that's going to give us the blackness around the heart. Now I'm going to go to Object and break the contour apart, and I'm going to just get rid of this one. So this is our new contour. Now, what we want is we want this to be a cut line. So what I'm going to do now is take this and use the Smart Fill tool on black, RGB black, and go zoom in here and get it and fill that in. So that will engrave, because we don't want a cut line on that. So that has no cut line because we left it here. So that's really all you need. He can put the words in there, and you can find a flower, draw that flower. You know, you put the date, you know, the date is text to path. We could, you know, cut a heart in it, and that heart is more probably realistic. So get common shapes and heart and put it where you want to. I'd put your heart in after you put your text in to make sure it's going to fit, and you can make it smaller. So that's all. Well, it's not all you need to make a planner. It all depends. Like he's got it at an angle, but just probably the easiest thing to do on something like this is to move this. I don't know what key I hit. Just to move this out of the way like I did. Yep. You can leave that, and we're going to take a rectangle and just figure out, if that was 4 inches, you can make this just a 1/2 inch wide, 0.5. Doesn't really matter how long it is. And then I would, to make it a real, and really if I should have worked in the center of the page, because it would be a lot easier to center this now, but you can get close enough, because this, midpoint to midpoint. But I would, when I started off, I should have put everything in the center of the page. And then if you wanted to put a point on this, just take your shape tool and convert it to a curve, then get your shape tool, take both these and select them and right click and turn them into well, I didn't mean to do that. Right click and add a node, and then just take that. See, I turn it into a curve. I shouldn't have. Just add a node, either that or the right mouse, and go right. I still had them all selected. Select the center one. Well, I've still got it. So I'm going to right click and turn it into a line. And that's really good enough. You could turn them all three into a line, I guess, will work the best. That way you got a sharp point. And then instead of trying to weld this, just put it up and, kind of get it in the center and take your virtual segment delete key, delete through there, take your smart fill tool and move it over, and then nudge it over, and then left click, right click, and then nudge it back over your design. So this will be a combination job. And I could have made the leaves a little thicker in line, or I could have made this a little thinner. I think it looks okay. Anyway, I hope that helped him just a little bit. Thank you for watching.